Hi everybody. All right, so today we are going over exponents and kind of what those mean, what those are, and how to deal with those. So before we begin the lesson, we need to go over some basic vocab. So the first word is coefficient. That's the number multiplied by a variable. So when you see something like 4x to the sixth power, the 4 would be a coefficient. The base is the variable, and it's the letter in an equation that changes or it varies. So x can stand for tons of different numbers. We usually solve for x in most of our equations, and so that's what makes it variable because it changes. And then finally, the exponent is the little number that's raised up on the base. So anything that has an exponent basically just means it's a number multiplied by itself. So 2 to the second power, or 2 squared, is just 2 times 2 because 2 is multiplied against itself. So if it was 2 to the third power, or 2 cubed, it would be 2 times 2 times 2 because you're multiplying it to the third power. All right, so adding variables. X plus x equals 3x. All you're doing is you're adding the number in front of the variable. Anytime you see just the letter x, there's always an invisible 1 right in front of it. So it's like 1 times x. So it's always 1x, but you don't show the 1. So if you have an equation like 2x squared plus 3x squared, that would just equal 5x. You're not doing anything to the powers, nothing to the exponents. You're just keeping it the same. You're only adding the coefficients. All right. For part 2 of adding variables, now, so let's say there's a different base and a different exponent. So 2 to the fourth power plus 3 to the second power, you're just going to write it out. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, and 3 times 3. So 2 times 2 is 4, and then 2 times 2 is 4, 2 times 2 is 4, and then 4 times 4 is 16, and then 3 times 3 is 9, then 16 plus 9, 25. And that's how you would do something like that with those numbers. If you have something like this, where it's 2x squared plus 3x cubed plus 4x squared, you can only add like terms. So 2x squared and 4x squared can be added to each other because they have the same base and the same exponent, x squared. They can't be added with x to the third power, or x cubed. So it would just be 6x squared plus 3x cubed. So I want you to practice this on your own. Go ahead and pause the video now, write it out, write out your problems, see what you're doing, and then unpause the video whenever you're ready. All right. So for the first equation, we have 5 squared plus 5 squared. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 25 equals 50. The next one would be 3 to the fourth plus 4 to the third. All it is 3 times 3 times 3, and then plus 4 times 4 times 4. Remember to put these in parentheses so you don't get confused and trying to figure out how to solve everything. So that one would come out to 145. Now, when things start to get a little tricky, multiplying with the same base. All right. So if it says 4 squared times 4 to the third, all you're doing is adding the exponents with each other. So if they have the same base. All right. So 4 squared times 4 to the third have the same base of 4. So you bring down the 4 and you're just adding 2 and 3. So 4 to the 2 plus third power, and that equals 4 to the fifth. Then you just solve as normal. So 4 times 4 times 4 times 4 times 4. And then whatever that is, that's what you would get. So remember, if it's multiplying, you're just adding the exponents. That stands for, even if it's like 4x squared times 4x to the third, it would be 4x to the fifth. With different bases, you are going to want, if it's the different base and the same power, you're just multiplying, so 2 squared times 3 squared, it would be 3 times 2, and then you're just bringing over the squared. So 6 squared, and then you can solve. It's basically a way of simplifying. But if it's 2x squared times 3x squared, same thing, you would do that, all right? Different base, different power. So 2 squared times 3 to the third, you are writing it out and then solving. So 2 squared, and then 2 times 2 times 3 times 3 times 3, 4 times 27 equals 108. So I want you to go ahead and try and solve these equations and then see if you can understand how to do it. This counts especially if there is a variable as well, and you'll be able to simplify your answers. So go ahead, pause the video and work on those by yourself. So for the answers, we have 5 to the 4 plus 3 power, and you solve, that equals 7. So 5 to the 7th, that equals 15,625. And then finally 3 to the 4th and 2 to the 5th, it comes out to 81 times 32, and you would get 2592. So remember, these are ways you're breaking it down. This is a way to easily solve it and write it out in case you get confused while you're taking the test. Now to divide exponents, you're doing the opposite. So you're subtracting. So if you're dividing with the same base, where it's 5 to the 8th divided by 5 to the 2nd, you're going to keep that same base of 5, but you're just subtracting 8 minus 2, and that would be 6. So 5 to the 6th, and then do what you got to do to solve it. 5 times 5 times 5. You get the drill now. Dividing with a different base, so 6 to the 4th divided by 3 to the 2nd, you're going to divide those bases. So 6 divided by 3, and then you're also subtracting. So 6 divided by 3, and then 4 minus 2. That equals 2 to the 2nd, and then 2 squared is 4. This is an example problem where it's 8 to the 4th power divided by 2 to the 3rd power. Here you would divide 8 divided by 2 and then bring 4 minus 3, which equals 4 to the 1st power. And remember, anything to the 1st power is just itself because it's multiplying against 1. So go ahead and try these problems on your own. Remember, what you turn in is how you get credit for watching this video. So go ahead and check your answers, make sure everything looks correct. If you struggled with these, go ahead and go back to the last couple slides and rewind. The biggest takeaway is if they can't divide evenly, so if it's 3 divided by 2, you just turn it into a fraction, 3 over 2, and then 3 over 2 squared. You will you go ahead and watch the other video on how to multiply fractions, but for the most part, I believe it'll be simplified, but if not, go ahead and watch the video to get a recap. That's everything for this one. So remember, all of this, if you're throwing in an exponent, not an exponent, a variable, so it's 3x to the 4th divided by 2x to the squared, then same thing. That's what you're doing. 3x over 2x, cut out the x to just be 1x, and then you're solving as is. All right, so please make sure you understand how to work with exponents. If you have any questions or need any help, please let me know. And thank you so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day.